Hi everybody, it's Ross Cook of RossCookBalancing.com. I'd like to share with you tonight a little bit of, and thank you for the people who've been writing and saying, tell us some more stories. Tell us some stories. A lot of you know I spoke at churches and different groups for many, many years and still do. And so we always use stories to illustrate our points. And tonight I want to share a story and maybe share a little happening in our life. But most importantly, it's not about this side. It's about, can you find a sliver of this, a piece of this, an element of this that will help you, that will help you progressively get more well. And I mean that, coming from well to weller and continuing on in that well flow of life. And if you're not there, maybe this will help a little bit. This is a story that comes from ancient China, and it actually did happen. It was written about by historians. And there was a time in a portion of China that there was there was a terrible drought, and they had had many, many seasons and years and years and years of just splendor, and everybody thought that it would just continue that way, and that was the dream. They just thought everything was going to stay perfect in this odd portion of China, and then they got hit very hard with the drought. And so they were struggling with the drought, and they meditated about it, and they prayed about it, and they had meetings about it, and they as a group got very, very active about what they could do to create, rain. And after they fell on perilous times and felt somewhat disempowered, they decided to take a last gasp, and they sent away for a rainmaker. And a lot of people didn't believe in a rainmaker, but they had tried to exhaustion and everything they knew. So they sent away, and 3 or 4 days later, here comes a wizened old man in a cart. And he gets out of the cart, and he gets out, and he looks around, and he sniffs the air, and he says, I need a house outside of this city. And when you bring me food, I want you to put it at the door, but I don't want to talk to anybody. Just leave. And they said, all right. He got back in the cart and left immediately. He didn't do anything that they saw in the town at all. And so days pass, and he comes out of his house on the third day, and it's raining. And everybody's just excited, and he goes into town and is going to get a cart to leave, and people are just all excited and very excited. And a regional historian comes and says, I have to interview you about this. I have to find out how this really worked. I mean, what happened? I mean, we were in this terrible drought, and everybody did everything they could, and you show up, and you seemingly, we can't see what you do, and all of a sudden it rains. And the old man says, well, I can explain some of it. And the guy says, no, I want you to tell me how you made it rain. And he goes, oh, if you're going to ask about the rain, that's a different question. That's a different question. And everybody was perplexed by his lack of explanation. And he said, I come from an area in China where we're very peaceful, and we live in the middle. And we meditate, but we meditate for the goodness and being one with nature. And if we need rain, it rains. And if, we need snow, it snows. And if we need sunshine, sun shines on our crops. And we live a very middle of the road, non-interventionist kind of life. We live at one with nature. And that's what we do. And he ends the sentence there like, that's the answer. And they said, yeah, but what about the rain? The historian is pushing him hard. You made it rain. And he says, ooh, no, I didn't make it rain. Of course it rained. Of course it rained. I came here, and you people are all in turmoil and exhausted and stressing. And he said that's not how it's done where I come from. And where we come from, I come from, everything is just naturally provided. And I think possibly maybe what you were doing was getting in the way. But of course it was going to rain. It was always going to rain. And he leaves. Lao Tzu said that if a river has an ego, it will never reach the sea. if a river had an ego, it would never reach the sea. It would stop and battle it out with the pebbles and the corners and the turns and the eddies and the pull of the lunar cycle. It's being governed by something bigger in a middle kind of flow, natural law. And I believe what the Rainmaker was talking about is he lived in a town in a region where the people didn't battle against natural law. They understood and they did everything they could to cooperate and flow with natural law. And I think the brilliant thing he said is when he said, that's another question. So often in our days at the office or with clients explaining what's going on in their life, many times they may be talking, and I know this has happened to me. I know I used to push the river. I was a guy who didn't understand maybe the sensitivity of a time, and I just massed tremendous energy and tremendous focus and barreled through things. And as I'm older, I realized I wasn't very well in the middle at all, and I probably passed up some much greater possibilities by pushing hard and just forcing things to happen in that kind of closed view. You think you're forcing it to happen. It's going to happen anyway. And I was just an active part of making it happen. Well, I think there's more in the middle. There's more if you're with the river as it flows and you're not the river attempting to fight at every corner, in every current, and every stone on the way down. If the river had an ego, it would never reach the sea. And I know I've had to learn, and I work hard daily at getting into the middle so that I am questioning. I don't know if I always have it, but I'm questing for the correct question. I'm searching many questions rather than a snap judgment of, oh, there it is, and I'll just hit that nail on the head with a hammer just instantly, and that'll take care of it. I think so often we ask the wrong questions, and I know that's something we've worked through here a great deal at the center, and we see it as commonplace through clients who've come and grown with us over the years. What's the right question? That's probably well-spent energy. Living in the middle, well-spent energy. So I offer that today. And I want to thank Kyle Lasota for the formats of these stories that we've given over many, many years, changing them slightly now so that we can put them in a format that y'all appreciate. And what we're finding is you can use them in your life now. As you're going through your day, they stick with you a little more clearly and a little more profoundly. So they're helping you, and you're using them for what you need to do day in and day out. I know I work on these stories daily, and I certainly, I really hope and believe that we're getting progressively more well all the time by inner journeying and using these stories to get more to the middle, to ask the correct questions. I'm Ross of Ross Cook Balancing, and I'm the founder of the Center for Balance and Effective Communication. I hope this is helping you tonight. I hope you have a beautiful upcoming week. I'm going to get to spend 3 days broadcasting some beautiful stuff, some excitement and activity, high school state basketball championships, and it's just going to be wonderful to watch everybody's commitment and enjoyment, and not just the players, but the entire communities celebrating these efforts of these young people. Very excited by that. That'll be the next 3 days. I'll be talking to you tomorrow. If you like these stories, go ahead and comment and like. Send us comments. And most of my clients tend to send me private messages, and that's okay too. You can also go to rosscookbalancing.com and leave me messages and ideas there. There are a series of talks that are long, but they also have at the end balances that you can go through. And you can work through. And if you just work through them, they will shift their journeys within yourself, and they will shift certain energetic systems within you. And there's a bunch of them on the site. So that's at rosscookbalancing.com. So until tomorrow night, be well and be progressively more well. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.